Okay, well, let's get started. Index.io is a eDiscovery processing platform. We also have a review element, and you'll notice as we get through the platform here, we are 100% cloud-based, which means that there's no software to install or special hardware needed. Hopefully everyone's seeing my screen here, which says Index.io here at the logo. You'll notice just a few fields of information to get signed up: first name, last name, email, and phone number. You can review our terms of service. You can actually download that, print it out, however you want to review it, and that starts your account. We do have unlimited users, so anyone can sign up for an account. Anyone can be invited to a project. There's no user fees, no licensing, any of that as far as structure goes. Once you do sign up for an account, you'll be emailed instructions to set your password. There's a password is salt hash encrypted. You'll notice that we're HTTPS, so it's SSL encryption, just like your online banking. But when you do set your password, like I said, it's salt hash encrypted, meaning it's a reset, not a retrieve mechanism. We don't have access to that information. So security is number one as far as Index.io goes, and then as far as the platform, we can always provide white papers on our security if needed, and to ensure that your project is always safe up here with Index.io. You'll notice when you first log in, you'll get a My First Project. This is a trial. We give you 5 gigs to kind of kick the tires on. I encourage everyone on the webinar to sign up for a trial if you haven't already and load some data on your own. Hopefully after this webinar, you'll be able to accomplish that. It should be straightforward and intuitive. If you have any questions, we're always available here under the support mechanism. Okay, you can submit a ticket, and we'll get back to you as far as helping you in any way we can. When you do go into your first project, you'll get a nice welcoming screen that says what a project is, a collection, custodian, etc. This is basic information for most of us, but keep in mind that our platform is completely in your control. It doesn't require any touches by Index.io personnel. You can actually sign up for an account and start processing and move your data through your eDiscovery workflow completely independent of needing to send us or schedule anything within Index.io personnel. You'll notice a big blue button that says Add Data to this project. We do put some intuitive workflow mechanisms into our platform to make things easy, making buttons bigger, kind of anticipating your workflow. And obviously we aren't able to do anything until you put data into the platform, so we make that button big. You'll notice that it is a 2-step wizard about who's the custodian, the collection name, collection description, etc., as well as the next screen, which is actually how do you get data into the platform. Okay, we're going to work through that whole workflow here, and then show you start to finish exactly what Index.io can offer you as far as the eDiscovery solution. I do like to keep this project clean, so I'm actually going to toggle over to an existing project, Global Mega Corp, which we've been processing the Enron data set. You'll notice that this project contains 15 collections and 13 unique custodians. We give you some nice pre and post processing overview as you put data into this, and I will come back to this. Your first step as a user will be adding data, and that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to go ahead and add more data. We're going to get the same 2-step wizard. We're going to give a custodian. In this instance, it's going to be Chris. And you'll notice as I type, it is a quick reference field. All of our tagging and entry fields are quick reference for consistency purposes. So I'm going to go ahead and put in here that this collection is going to be for Chris Dorland. And the collection name, or ID I should say, is just going to be first initial, last name, which is pretty standard. You can obviously name it whatever you need, and you can give it a description. So this could be, work laptop, home machine, phone, whatever. This happens to be the Enron data, so I'm just going to put Enron data, so I have a reference as to what this is. There's a few settings. We extract files from containers. These are PST, OST, Inbox, zip, tar, etc. We also extract attachments from emails and maintain that parent-child relationship. And then we can also extract embedded items. These are going to be Excel table snippets or logos within a Word file, etc. These settings are defaulted to extract files and containers and attachments, but not embedded items. And that's just on aggregate data of our users and how most of our projects are processed. Obviously, you can configure this however you want. We do have a time zone setting in the admin, so we default to GMT. But if you needed to, process data in a specific time zone, like Pacific Mountain or Central, you could make those adjustments in the admin panel. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit next here. And then this is actually how you get data into Index.io. We give you a number of options. We can obviously upload or drag and drop a file up to 2 gigs. So this could be a PST or a zip, etc. You can also file pick it from the Choose File browser. Every project gets an IIO drive, which is a SFTP, a Secure File Transfer Protocol account, so that when you sign up and you create a new project, you're going to get credentials to connect with either FileZilla, Transmit, or whatever you're familiar with as far as file transfer goes, or SFTP accounts. Most of our projects do utilize this as far as an upload. That being said, we do connect to third-party data sources, which is if your collection company or your internal firm has an FTP or SFTP account, you can obviously log into that and browse. So instead of downloading and then re-uploading, we can pull straight from that server. And then we have S3, which is Amazon's file storage platform. So if you or your client are storing data on S3, we can actually pull it straight from that storage platform. Internally, actually, Index.io does leverage the S3 more probably than our end users, because most end users are familiar with the SFTP connection. But if you want a more in-depth work through or examples of how to connect to S3, we're more than happy to do that. You can schedule that independent of this webinar. So today I'm going to go ahead and select the IIO drive. I'm going to go down. You can see we have all of this data uploaded here. We're going to go down to Chris Dorland data set. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to hit save. So as far as processing data, we make it really, really easy as far as getting it uploaded, and then with the two-step wizard, you're able to identify the collection custodian and then begin processing from the data source. Now what's happening here is we're actually building a processing environment. So you'll see pre-processing overview. Nothing is happening right now because we're building that environment specific to this collection. If I toggle back here, you'll actually see that we have a status here that says it's initializing. This is important for a couple of factors. One, it means we can add another collection and another collection and another collection. We can go to another project and add multiple collections, and they all get their independent environments for processing. Okay, the benefit you have there is that you don't have to worry about this collection eating up resources on another collection, meaning they don't step on each other's toes, if you will. And it also eliminates what we like to call second-in-line syndrome. It's where if you have 10 licenses of a eDiscovery processing software, and there's a few out there. If you have 11 collections, you have to wait for something to be complete before you start the next collection. We eliminate that because you can fire up 11, 50, 100, whatever you have available. Okay. The other neat thing about this is that we monitor this on the back end, and what we do is we have an algorithm that checks if this processing environment is optimized, meaning perhaps this is a 2 terabyte collection, and one processing environment, which is very robust, by the way. We're talking about many cores and gigs of RAM processing on this collection. If we find that it could use more, we auto scale it. So we dynamically add resources to each collection as they need it. And the best way to describe that is for Index.io, we don't really it doesn't matter to Index.io if we run one machine for 10 hours or 10 machines for 1 hour. But obviously there's a big difference on the user end, because you're running 10 machines for 1 hour because you want to access that data as fast as possible. And that's what auto scaling brings to the table, is the fact that you don't have to worry about that. We're always going to be monitoring that collection, and we're always going to be optimizing it and scaling it up for you, so that you always get the fastest processing speeds possible. Okay, and so we're initializing this environment, and while we're doing that, I am going to go ahead and just toggle back a collection that is finished here to kind of show you what it'll look like. Okay, so go ahead and click on this first collection here. Right away, you notice we got some great charts and graphs as far as what the data size was prior to processing and what it expanded out to. For instance, a zip file may be 164 megs, but it actually expands out to 383 megs. Same way with PSTs, etc. We also show you a data overview by extension and category. This happens to be a PST that was processed, so it's 100%, but if this was a zip file, um, that or a folder of multiple files types, they would be broken down. And the best way to show that is maybe the post-processing overview. So you'll see here as I click into the post-processing overview on this collection, we get nice charts and graphs that outline extensions, so you can quickly see, and it's not surprising that most of this data is MSG because it came out of a PST, but you can quickly get to the PDFs, the Excels, the PowerPoints, etc. And these are interactive, so if I click on this pie chart, it's immediately going to take me to that set of information. Okay. You can also go to category, and it breaks it down by Microsoft Office files, video files, other. You can drill down into the other and see what's actually nested within that smaller collection. And these are, again, interactive, so if I click on the video files, for instance, I'll be taking all those videos. Some of the more advanced analytics that we have on the post-processing overview is we do give you a timeline. This is interactive, so if I just click and drag on the section, it'll readjust my timeline and show me dates and times and document counts associated with that timeline. We provide email domains as far as like counts of unique email domains. This is the to, the from, the CC, and the BCC field, and we sort those descending so you can kind of see the major domains. If you saw ABC Law Firm, for instance, you'd be able to interact with that and tag those as potentially privileged. If you saw fantasyfootball.com, you could tag those as junk. So we give you a nice interactive component on the email domains. And then we have a social communication chart. By default, it's set to 50. This can be adjusted, and these are the top 50 domains that are communicating within this collection. We can actually adjust this down to, let's say, the top 10. You'll notice that these are then showing you the top 10 communication or email addresses, and these are interactive. So, for instance, the Equity Alert Center, I can click on this, and it'll take me to those items. I can then tag them as junk or however I want to categorize them. Or I could review them. So I'm going to go ahead and hit a tag here. I'm tagging everything in the list. I could tag related. Or I could click into the item and then review this item for specific tagging or relevance, etc. I'm going to get to this section here in just a moment, but I do want to talk just briefly about what we do during processing, because we do a lot here at Index.io. So what do we do during processing? So we extract searchable text. We extract all available metadata. We virus scan every item. We OCR image-based items, including PDFs that fail to extract text. We dedupe based on MD5. We also generate an SHA-1, SHA-256, and SHA-512 if you need them, but we utilize MD5 for dedupe purposes. We identify system files based on the National Institute of Standard and Technology's known system file database. We pull out all email domains and tag them. So if it's indexed at index.io, we pull that out, and so you can quickly get to all those email domains. We also scan all text for potential personal information. This includes, This includes. I'm going to go to my system tags here. This includes credit card number patterns as well as Social Security number patterns, and this just aids you in a quick search to say, I want to see all items that have a potential Social Security number, so you can either redact or handle them appropriately. Under the system tags, you can kind of see we do a lot during our processing. We flag all duplicates, etc. We also flag anything that failed to extract text. So if you need to get to all of those items that aren't particularly searchable, if you will, or coming up with your keyword search or however you're organizing, you can get to these items quickly. We also, like I said, do virus scanning and a lot of touches on your data. Now, the neat thing about this is all of this stuff happens the moment an item comes into the platform. Okay, so all of these steps are ran on a particular um, item, you'll see actually we're starting to process data here, and I'm going to click into this. What that means is I can actually start searching this data. So I'll just pull up the word document here, and I got 19 hits. Now this collection's not finished processing yet. So we're giving you real-time access to the data as it's being processed. This is kind of unique in the industry because we're all aware of the wait, and then you need it yesterday. Well, giving you real-time access to these items as they're processed and all those steps happening really gives you the most timely access that possible. You don't have to wait for this collection to be finished before you start poking around and reviewing in it. And obviously you can click into any of these items and start reviewing it. Okay. So let's actually look at that. What is our review element? We do give you three views. We give you a plain text, which is actually the searchable text or the extracted text or the OCR that we got from the item. We give you a rich text view, which is an HTML or rich text view of the item, so if it's a near native view. And then we also PDF everything as it's being processed. And the reason we do that is because you get a lot of tools with PDFs. For instance, I can redact this item. I can click here on redact, and I can just build a nice little box. I can hit save, and then that redaction now is applied for everyone who sees this item. If I hit print here, it will print the current view. So if I hit the little printer here, you'll notice it does have the redacted box here at the top. Obviously, I can select my printer. I can download this PDF with the redaction, and if I want the original native file, which is a doc file, a Word doc, I can actually go down here to the bottom left and click and download that file. Okay, so you have a thumbnail view. I mean, it's a great little viewer, and as far as review goes, we really found it to be very adequate and robust for an end-to-end review piece. Okay, a couple things I will point out is we do offer hotkey tagging. So, for instance, Control Space tags it as review, Control R is responsive, Control P is privilege, etc. So we do have hotkey functionality for tagging. Okay. The other thing I'll mention here while we're in the reviewer is we have a tab system up here on the top right. By default, you are going to be in the tags section, and we do have a quick coding interface that allows you to set up tags that are persistent. Radio buttons, so if I click this responsive, for instance, it'll add the responsive tag. You also notice it tagged it as redacted because it's been redacted. But if I hit not responsive, it'll actually remove the responsive tag and add the not responsive tag. So we're going to show you quickly how to set up this form, but you can actually create a very simple, intuitive coding form based on your tagging. And then we also have like checkbox style. So for instance, I can add both confidential and privilege to this. Speaking of tags, these can be color coordinated. You notice privilege is red. Maybe if I tag it as responsive, I want responsive to be green, and I can actually click on that tag and change the color and make it visual so that it pops up for everybody. Okay. We do give you full access to the metadata, so we have core metadata, which are all the fields that our users have described as being useful during the review, and then we have extended metadata, which are all the available metadata fields that we pulled out from the system. So you can see that extended properties company is part of the extended metadata. It's not part of the core metadata. Okay. We do show related items. So if this is a parent, it would show a child. If this is a child, it would show a parent. So this is a child item. You can see that it has a parent here, and you can click on that and review it together. You can also tag this as a set with tag related. One of the unique things that Index.io has is by default we take 100% of this text, we keyword tokenize it, and we search it across the corpus of the project, and we do a similar finding. It's a more like this search. And the benefit of this is that it's not a near dupe per se. It's actually a little more powerful than near dupe in that it finds items that are like the document you're currently viewing. So if this is a privileged document, you can actually look through this more like this search, and obviously 100% are going to be duplicates, but you can look through this set, and it's going to start to scale down. So you'll see this is 39% like the document we're viewing, and you can handle those items appropriately via privilege review or responsiveness or what have you. And we do have notes section, so you can quickly add a note. It'll actually monitor who, when, and what the note value is. So it's available to all reviewers. Okay, so we have a nice little review interface here, on top of our robust processing. The thing I would probably stress as far as what we do and how we do it is just ease of use. It's always accessible. It's web based, and Index.io, you're able to literally drag and drop data into this platform, have a defensible processing applied to it, and even have a really nice, robust review element to look through and comb through that data. Now, you can obviously use the charts and graphs as well as the system tags to organize this material. So if I click back here, let's talk about tags for a second. Excuse me. We really want you to utilize tags as far as what you want and what you don't want. We do give you 3 tag categories. There are project tags, which are all the tags that are created by the end user. These could be confidential, for instance, not responsive, responsive, hot doc one, whatever tag system you want to create, you can build it within the system. There's no limit to how many tags you can have available. We also extract out every email domain, which you saw the chart on the post-processing overview. And these are quick links, so if you see abclawfirm.com, you can click on it and tag it all as potential privilege, or fantasyfootball.com, you can tag it as potential junk, for instance. And then we do have the system tags, which you guys had seen prior. The one thing I will notice here is that you'll see these names and date time. Anytime you export an item from Index.io, it is tagged with the export name and the date time it was exported. That's just so you can quickly get back to that set if you ever have to. So for instance, I can click on export 8. It's going to take me to that set. It happens to be one item, but if I need to get back to it, I can quickly get back to it. Okay. So let's talk about taggings and how we're going to use that within the platform. So if I go back to my main project page here, you'll see I have all my collections that I've processed, and I have a status of what's currently happening. We can actually go to this little option here. We can select all or none. We can select individual collections. Typically, it's going to be an all. And then we can go to actions, which allows us to explore tags. So when we're exploring tags, it gives us a Boolean logic to apply. For instance, show me everything that's responsive, and maybe not privilege. Now this is a very simple tag filter. You can make it obviously as complex as you need, but the idea is you would want to say, and not junk or whatever your specific Boolean criteria is. Apply that filter, and you're going to pull up your items. Now this, in our example, would be what we want to export. We're going to go ahead and we can configure this tagging filter however we need to. This is an and. It has to have these items, all these items. This is an or, so it means it can have any, it has to have at least one of these items, and it can't have any of these items down below. So pretty straightforward as far as Boolean logic filtering. So we're going to go ahead and tag this as EX. It looks like we're up to 9. So I'm going to go ahead and just call this export 9. And the idea is I'm bucketing up these items for an export. Okay. So I'm going to tag them. Tagged all the items. It could be 3, 3,000, 300,000. It doesn't matter. And basically we're creating a bucket that we're going to use on the export side. Okay. Before we get to the export side, I do want to kind of touch base on a couple other components. For instance, we do have reporting. So here's a list of all my available reports I've ran in the past. For instance, I'm going to go ahead and go to my actions, and instead of that filter of responsive, privileged, and junk, I'm going to say has a processing exception. Okay. Now I can quickly get to my 16,888, and these have various processing exceptions. It could be that they're password protected. It could be that they're corrupt, etc. But we're going to save this. You see the little disk icon here. We're actually going to save this as a CSV. We have some great options here as far as customizing fields, what fields we want to take. We do give you all available fields. Was it password protected? Give me a list of all the current tags applied to the item. Here's the SHA1 or SHA hash codes. You name it. We give you absolutely everything associated with the item. And the idea here is you can customize this as an exception or a privilege, whatever you need to do to make it your report. We're going to give it a name. So in this case, I'm going to put exception, process an exception. You can rename the whole thing. Obviously, I like keeping the date and time on the end of it because it lets me know when I ran it, and then I'm just going to go down and hit save. Now, our platform, this is actually asynchronously happening in the background. So what does that mean? It means it's not going to step on your user's toes. So if I'm generating a big report, let's say it's a million items, it's not going to hinder your reviewers as far as speed or access. There's a lot of steps that happen asynchronously in the background, so as to eliminate any kind of um, system degradation or slowness. We've really built this thing to scale horizontally so that users are never impacted. And we talked about it at the beginning. There are never charges for users, so you can have 1, 10, or 100 users in here on the same project, and it's the exact same pricing structure. Okay, so once this report is generated, it can always be accessed under the Reports tab, and you'll see here, Processing Exception, it ran. And we can download that report and distribute it or utilize it however we need to. Okay. Real quick, before we do our export, I am going to touch on the admin component here. Um, you notice it's the same tab style as before. It's continuity as far as design and layout, and that's the ease of use. We have details, so we could change this name of the project, description, time zone that we're processing data in. There's a billing information. There's users. You simply send an email to a user that you want to invite to your project. If they're an existing Index.io user, they actually will get an email that says, hey, you've been invited to this project by Brian or whoever invited you. And then when you log in, you'll see under notifications an invite that you can accept or decline. Okay. The other component under the admin screen is passwords. We do recognize encrypted data. If you have a list of passwords from your client or from your data source, you can put those in here pre-processing, and when we find password and protected information, we actually try those in serial, and we flag it as such. So we flag it, or tag it, I should say, as password protected, and then we also flag the status in which we were able to access that item. So, password access failed or password access is successful. And again, the idea is you can take that tag list and utilize it however you need to. You can take it back to your client and say, here's a list of files that are password protected. Can you give us the passwords for them? Or you can even export them out and review them however one-on-one with your client. We do have the ability to update records. So a lot of times we'll have an initial processing of data, filtering down, and maybe even a first level review or what have you, and they'll export that data maybe to an internal review platform, which we do quite a bit, and it's very easy to do that into whatever platform you have. But you may want to bring some of that internal review decisions back into the platform. And so we do give you the ability to update records within Index.io from external data sources. So for instance, if you did your privilege review external, but you want to bring those decisions back in, we do give you this mechanism. And then we have our tagging form. So the tagging form came out of user response. Instead of kind of knowing your tags and manually entering them, everyone wanted to see if we could put in kind of a basic form that allowed what we call persistent tags, or tags that are always going to be available or visible to the end user. It's really easy. You can actually just drag and drop either a radio button, which makes it one or the other, or a checkbox. So for instance, I can just drag the checkbox out here. I can put the tag name in, and we'll call this EX9, whatever tag's available. We can hit save, and then when I log in, or a user logs in and they look at an item, so for instance, if I click in here and I browse the item, these are all EXEs, so that's not fun. Let's just search for the word document. EXEs are not exciting to look at. You'll notice here under tags, the responsive, not responsive, confidential, and privileged are tag form. So the idea is, instead of typing in the word responsive and pulling it up and having to know that that tag exists, you can always add a new tag just by entering in that box, but you give a nice tagging form to where a user can just click responsive, confidential, privileged, etc., and then move on to the next item. Okay. So let's kind of fast forward here. We've processed, or we uploaded and processed data. We got all those amazing system tags and all the things that we do to it as far as identifying viruses and extracting text and OCR and all the fun stuff. And we're going to review it or filter it down. Ultimately, you're going to export this from the platform. This can either be for a production to the other side, or it could be an export to an internal review platform. Index.io has a very robust export engine. So, excuse me, I'm going to go ahead and click on exports here. You'll notice I have all my prior exports available here for download. To add an export, I just simply click the Add Export button. We're going to get a couple options, native or image. So we're going to give it a name. I think we went with EX009, so we're going to stay with that theme. The only difference between native and image as far as the wizard goes is the last screen. So you'll notice it's a 5-step screen out here, and if I click on image, it turns to 6. You're actually going to see the native workflow with the image workflow. So that's what I'm going to do today is go ahead and work through the image workflow, and we'll get both experiences with this image workflow. So I'm going to go ahead and select image. I'm going to hit next. I can select one, a couple, or all my collections to pull from. Since we did a search across everything, I'm going to go ahead and mimic it here. We could build our tag logic here, but since we already bucketed it up, we're going to go ahead and pull the 009 bucket because we were able to tag those and quick review them on the front end. But you could obviously build the same responsive, not junk, not privilege here and move forward. But we do recommend kind of building that first, bucketing it up with the tag, and then going. We provide load file formats. By default, we give you 3 load file formats: an IO CSV, which contains every metadata field available in a CSV format. We also give you a relativity and an SEC load file based on their published documentation. Now, you can always create your own load file. You can see up here, create own custom format. We give you the ability to name it. You can change the extension if you want. You can actually use any of the prior load files as a template. So for instance, if I go to SEC, you'll notice that it's a DAT and it's a concordance delimiters. You can obviously change these to whatever you need. As far as ASCII characters, Unix versus Windows, we default to Windows. We also give you the standard date, time, and date time formats as far as field format goes, but this can be customized. So for instance, if you wanted July instead of 07, there's a way to modify that date time format. If you wanted a 24-hour clock instead of a 12-hour clock, it's very robust configuration here, but we do give you the standards as far as the date and time combo field. You can prepend the path on all of the relative paths, so this would be the native or the image directories. If you wanted it to be on the M drive, eDiscovery projects, etc., you could prepend that path. This kind of goes back to the old summation days. I don't know if it's necessarily as functional with the newer platforms, but it is an available option. Of course, you can include or exclude the header. You can include or exclude fields. You can rename them. You can rearrange them. You can make this load file however you need to customize it for your output, and either, again, for internal review or for production purposes. Once you have your file the way you want it, you can actually hit save, and it'll be available under the list here. So I'm going to go ahead and select a couple files here. You can select as many load files as you want. It'll generate them all simultaneously. And then we'll hit next. This is a pretty standard screen. It's a naming screen. You can give it a prefix, a seed value, a spacer or not. You get a nice preview of what it's going to look like. You can pad this. So pretty standard as far as export configuration screen. The difference here, I will say, is one, if this was a native export, it would say start. But it's an image, so we have an additional screen. The other is you can always output the PDFs. So you mentioned earlier that we generate a PDF for every item that we can. You can actually output these PDFs here, as well as in the native configuration, in addition to the natives or the images. So if your platform is better suited for PDF review, or they want PDFs, no problem. You can output these PDFs. One of the neat features we do have for the native export is we can output the original native paths. So what this means is you can actually pull in data, dedupe it, virus scan it, system file recognition, etc., filter it down, and then actually output it in the same source path that it was ingested in. So if it was my documents, company agendas, September 2015.doc, it's going to output that same path and file name structure as we ingested it. And this is a great way to clean data, right? You can upload, dedupe, and then just output the source data in the same structure as it originally was, but it's obviously filtered down. And again, we can output the PDFs if you want PDFs, both from the image and from the native export. So this is an image export, so we get an additional screen. It's the sixth screen. We do support color images. You can toggle image-only export, or the idea here is with image-only export, there may be times for an attorney's eyes-only review where you absolutely do not want to provide native, and that's important because if we have an MP3 or a video file, for instance, our system's going to create a placeholder that says this file failed to generate a valid image, and it's going to copy that native into an exceptions folder. If you do not want that native under any circumstances, you would select image only. It would still make the placeholder, but it wouldn't copy the native. Now on the flip side of that coin, is you can export all natives in addition to your images. So it's obviously going to take the native file and name it the Bates number of the first image, and it's going to put it into a natives directory. So you can do images and native files on your export. We do placeholders for spreadsheets and presentations. It puts a placeholder that says this file's been produced natively, gives it a Bates stamp or however you have it configured, and then copies that item into the natives directory. Okay. So speaking of endorsement, we do allow bottom left, bottom middle, bottom right. This can be a static message, like confidential. Every page is going to be endorsed with that. Bates number is obviously going to increment by the page. And then we can also use tagging. So for instance, anything tagged privileged would get the endorsement of the privilege tag. Anything not tagged would be blank. So you can use tagging to endorse those items and make sure that if there's specific document endorsements, they can be applied. Okay, and then we're going to hit Start Export, and that's again just like reporting. It's asynchronously going to happen in the background. The one thing I will tell you is that we really try to notify the end user as much as we can as to what's happening in the platform. So for instance, when we started processing, I actually got an email that was sent to me that said processing has started. Now when processing completes, I'm going to get an email that says, hey, this collection's complete. The same way with the export, I'm going to get an email that says, hey, this export is complete. And the idea here is that you don't have to come back, shake the mouse, wake the monitor up, and see what's happening with your project. You're going to get those passive notifications so that you can go about your day. You may be in a conference or a conference call or a webinar like today, and you get an email that pops up that says, hey, your processing is complete. That may trigger an action item on you, as opposed to having to come back and shake the mouse and figure it out, etc. The other neat thing is if we I would say all tasks are monitored, and you've probably seen the pop-ups coming up where it's like, hey, this is completed, or this is the status of this report, etc. We do try to passively notify you on each of the steps, again, so that you don't have to toggle from project to project to get an update. Okay, the system's going to communicate those steps to you so that you can be more efficient with your time. Real quickly, I will touch on a few things here. We've gone through uploading and processing data. Very straightforward, very simple. You can literally drag and drop if you need to. We've talked about our review platform. Once the items are in, search, etc. We do have an advanced search. I didn't touch on that, but this is a newer feature here. You'll notice we have the simple search bar up top, but we also have an advanced search, so we can actually drag, for instance, file extension. We can pull it up and we say, well, we only want JPEG files. We also only want modified or printed date or etc. Any of these emails from, maybe it's a custodian value. Let's pull that out. And maybe it's Chris, and this is an or an and. We can toggle that. And we can build whatever logic we want within this quick query builder, and we can search that material. So we do have an advanced search that makes it a little more intuitive as far as what's happening with the items, as well as the search bar. So you can always do, for instance, document, and it's going to search very fast and quickly across all items. So let's talk about search speeds here real quick. I'm going to toggle over to a project. It's a full set of Enron data. You'll see post-processing, we get all these nice metrics. If we look at the collection, it's roughly a million items, million files. So I'm actually just going to search for the word Ken or the word Ken, and we're going to get 17,836 items in 5 milliseconds. There's a lot of talk out there about search speeds and functionality. I will say that without mentioning any names, we're about 10 times faster than the guys that say that they're 10 times faster than everyone else. We have a super robust search. It's horizontally scalable. It never diminishes as far as progress or speed. We just searched a million items for a single word and got back, 17,000 or near 18,000 hits in 5 milliseconds, which I think is like 0.01 of a second. So we can also wildcard up here. We can do a lot of fun stuff. So you'll notice 41,000 hits in 34 milliseconds with a wildcard. These are just ridiculous search speeds, which we're really proud of. It's one of the reasons I want to toggle over here and kind of show it to everybody. And when you're in your day-to-day events, obviously these types of speeds make a difference. They add up, and you don't want to be frustrated and have to go get a cup of coffee because something's searching. We do give you kind of that Google-esque search experience. Obviously, the simple search bar up top as well as advanced. If you want information on search, under our support, we have full knowledge base, so you can search our knowledge base, or you can submit a ticket. You'll get a phone call, email, or a web session to get you through whatever issue or question you have. But if I do a search up here, you'll notice we have searching your data, and we give you a nice walkthrough as far as how to search a specific collection, multiple collections, when wildcards work, when they don't work, and or not, proximities. We give you examples on all those fun things, as well as even how to I search for specific metadata fields. Now this is the quick bar search, so these would be all formatted as far as the quick bar search here at the top. And again, if that knowledge base doesn't get you where you need, you can say none of these are helpful. You can still submit a ticket, and we'll reach out to you immediately. Okay, so we're at about 11, or excuse me, we're at about 45 minutes into the webinar, and what we've covered is we've uploaded data, we've processed it, we've reviewed it, we looked at our quick form for our review form, we've searched it, simple search as well as advanced search, we've bucketed up things we liked, didn't like, and ultimately we kicked off an image export, and that's happening right now on the back end. Our platform goal is to make this very user accessible and very user intuitive or easy. Obviously, there's a lot of products out there that take days even for training sessions and certification. What you've seen today is probably enough to get online, sign up for an account, and start processing and reviewing your eDiscovery project, and that's our goal. That's really the power of a cloud-based solution, is accessibility, scalability, and ease of use. Okay, and we're hoping that you all will sign up for an account today and kick the tires, if you will. And if you have any questions, obviously you can submit a support ticket. If you need anything specific, we're always available. I will say that we have use cases that go from a half a gig up to a 20 terabyte project that was processed late last year. We actually processed that data in about 3.5 weeks. And so, it scales however project size you have, it fits. Obviously the 1 gig PST drag and drop is convenient and easy, and that's the purpose. But we can also take on larger projects given how we scale and those search speeds, etc., as well as unlimited users. You have full access to the tool. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today. If you guys do have any questions, I encourage you to submit them via email or the support ticket, and we'll be putting this recorded webinar online for everyone to review again or share. And again, thanks for joining us. If anyone has any follow-up or what have you, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll do what we can. Thank you.